Am I the a-hole for not accepting my ex's baby as my own? I, male 39, was married to Kelly, female 36. We have 3 kids, 14-year-old, 12-year-old, and a 6-year-old. Kelly got pregnant early in our relationship, and we got married when my firstborn was 1-year-old. Then she decided to be a stay-at-home mom. She met Josh. He was a fitness trainer. Kelly told me she was no longer attracted to me and wanted divorce. I suggested therapy, but she said she saw no point since the attraction is gone. We have now 50-50 custody of our kids, and I pay child support and alimony since she has no job. She got pregnant by Josh after a hookup, but Josh disappeared when she told him about the pregnancy. She is about to give birth soon. She told me last night she want to give the baby my last name so all kids have the same last name. I said that's odd, since my name wouldn't be on a birth certificate. She said, that's what I'm saying. You have always been a great dad, and it's cruel that the baby would be left out while the siblings have you. I said no, and I doubt she legally even can without my consent. I only care about my kids. She said I'm heartless and cruel. After all, baby will be my kids' siblings. Am I the a-hole? Edit to add, I live in Toronto. No, there is 0% chance that I would be the father. I'm black. Josh, whom I've never met in person, is like my ex-wife, Caucasian with blonde hair and blue eyes. So the baby will clearly look so different than me and the kids. I'm not sure why Kelly plans to lie to the poor baby about the dad. I'm not trying to be cruel or be malicious. I was a complete mess after my divorce. Heartbroken. After so much therapy, I decided to let her go. I'm now focusing on my kids and our, kids and mine's, mental health. I am single by choice because I don't think my kids and I are there yet to have a new person in our lives. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. It's not your baby. I understand she wants them not to feel excluded from the other kids, but you don't really have a responsibility here. Although pretty sure she could name the baby whatever she wants, I don't think you can stop her. Just make sure you're not on a birth certificate. Can she write my name as the dad without my consent? I think she could give the baby your name unfortunately, but as you're divorced, I don't think she can just list you as father. It's likely she can list anyone as the father, and the presumed father can contest the birth certificate, but obviously location dependent. Not the a-hole. I'd get a lawyer. Sounds like she may try to put you on the birth certificate and then claim child support. That's my fear. Yes, I'll talk to my lawyer. Don't worry too much. A simple paternity test would show you are not biologically the child's father. You won't have to pay child support for a child that is not yours. Section 31 of the Ontario Family Code doesn't allow for DNA to get someone out of fatherhood, which sucks for married men who had cheating wives. Luckily for OP, while the Family Code assumes the husband is the father, there is no assumption for an unwed mother. If the mother is not married, an affidavit of paternity has to be signed by the person claiming to be the father prior to his name being listed in the birth certificate. One small trap though, if his divorce was less than 300 days prior to the birth, he will be presumed to be the father, as conception would have occurred during the marriage. Wowza, that's messed up. Many US states are the same. It's only been in the last several years that some of them have passed paternity fraud laws that let deceived men get their names removed based on DNA. And even then, it's very restricted time frame. They use the benefit of the child to dehumanize men into nothing but wallets. Inform your lawyer, assuming your divorce isn't final, and make sure that you don't end up on a birth certificate. Our divorce got finalized already. Just inform your lawyer to draft up something as precaution. Please don't engage her when she starts talking about it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband I don't care about his kids? I know I sound like the a-hole right from the get-go, but please hear me out. I, 39 female, got married to my 42 male husband 5 years ago. He had 3 kids at a time who are now 10 female, 14 female, and 17 male. I got along with them really well for the first year. They didn't call me mom or anything, which was never ever enforced. I always let them know that they were allowed to call me by my first name. Their mom has not liked me from the start. She has constantly showed up to my doorstep yelling at me, saying I'm trying to steal her kids. I have tried to sit down and talk to her, explaining that her kids love her and would never replace their mom. She still continues to tell them that rubbish. At around the 2.5-year mark, the kids started pulling pranks on me. I assumed it was harmless, like putting baby powder in my hair dryer or greasing up the stairs. Looking back on it, it should have been a sign. The rubbish their mom kept telling them eventually got to them, with her going as far as saying she was the mistress, which is why Daddy and I divorced, which is completely not true. The kids would then start disobeying me. It all started little, like not putting their shoes away, leaving dirty clothes on the floor. Then it down spiraled from there. They would start screaming at me, the eldest going as far as calling me a home-wrecking whore, which honestly left me in tears. These past 4 years, I've been subjected to bullying within my own home. I've spoken to my husband several times about all these situations. He brushes it off, saying they're still adjusting to change or it's all just jokes. Yesterday was my final straw, when the 17 male and 14 female sold my gold earrings that were for my grandma, and they split the money. I told my husband that I was getting a divorce because I can no longer do this. He begged and pleaded with me and said, "Don't you care about the kids?" I told him I didn't care about them one single bit. I'm at my parents' house now, and he keeps texting and apologizing, saying he'll buy me new ones. I'm yet to respond. Am I the a-hole? Call the cops and file a report to get your stolen items back, or at least to force accountability. You were wise to leave. Don't look back. Not the a-hole. This, report them stolen. They need to know there are consequences for their actions. This, if they were pawned, I hope he may get them back. I hope she does. What cruel children. Part of me thinks there is a very good chance the ex-wife has it. Not the a-hole. After 5 years, they should have been adjusted. And no, greasing the stairs is not just a joke. I'm sure he's aware of the change in the kid's behavior. He's ignoring it because he doesn't want to have to deal with it. Those earrings had sentimental value. They can't be replaced, but what his kids did was a crime. There is another comment saying you should report the theft to the police, and I totally agree with that. Those kids stole your earrings, sold them, and shared the money. They need to learn that actions have consequences. These kids have made your life a hell for 4 years, and your husband has condoned that by not speaking to them. I wouldn't care about them either. Yeah, greasing the stairs is serious, an attempt to injure you seriously. You don't have a stepkid problem, you have a husband problem. His ex threw you to the wolves and he has done nothing but blow you off and dismiss your feelings and concerns. Just joking is the rallying call of every bully on the planet. Get a divorce. Why should you care about kids who are bullying you beyond reason? Or for a husband who watches it happens and does nothing. Get the heck out of this totally dysfunctional marriage. Stay at your parents' house. Get a lawyer. Start the paperwork. To hell with his apologies. Too little too late. And this is what you tell him. If you are stupid enough to go back, he will almost immediately go back to the way it was, ignoring what is going on. Get a divorce. The kids will high-five each other thinking that it's going to be happy family again. Then are shocked when dad doesn't go back to the person who actively helped destroy this marriage. More like kids are going to be shocked when they realize how much Opie did for them. Hope Opie gets out. She deserves so much better. Now for the update. These past days have been hard for me, especially with all that's happened. I took the advice and went to the police station and filed a report. The police said they'd see what can be done. I'm guessing they did show up to my ex-husband's house because he kept calling me nonstop. He called me all sorts of names, which I took screenshots of and sent to my lawyer. I've indeed contacted a divorce lawyer and will start the process in the next few weeks. Thank you so much, everyone. An update won't come out for a while though because I'm still figuring things out. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not telling my wife I donated sperm before we started dating, and she more than likely is not having my first child? This one I admit is a bit strange, and honestly, I never thought of the impact of my actions long ago when I was making a little side cash. Long story short, I was in college about 15 years ago, and like every college student, I was low in cash. And I was flipping through the school paper and saw an ad for a sperm donation. It said something along the lines of, no mental illness, no drugs, no alcohol, excellent physical shape, come make $500 a month. It sounded like a scam, but I went to the address and it was a legit doctor's office looking place. Everything looked legit, paperwork and all. Turns out because of my grades, healthy lifestyle, being 6 feet tall and so on, I actually got $650 a month for coming in for regular donations. This was huge for me. Heck, my rent in those days for a townhouse was $450. I only did it for a year and never really told anyone about it. Just moved on with my life, no different than any other side gig. So boom, my wife and I had been trying for months to have a kid. Eventually we end up getting pregnant and it's a pretty exciting time for the both of us. Everything went bad and made all those old donation memories I never really thought about came back in a flash. When at the baby shower, one of my wife's friends bought a onesie for the baby that said, Mom and Dad's firstborn, handled with care. I thought it was cute, but then it made me think our baby probably isn't my firstborn. It ate at me for like a week. Then I told her about the sperm donation I did in college and how I'm pretty sure she's not having my first child. All hell broke loose. She was furious. especially since we tried for so long before she could get pregnant. Said I lied to her, and I don't see it like that. I've dated women before her, and I never thought to start out, "Hi, I'm Brendan and I donated sperm 15 years ago," or that would be a big deal. She's been sleeping at her sister's house for a week now. Am I the a-hole? You win the worst possible timing award for today. He could have announced this in the delivery room, so second worst? Third, could have been when a 15-year-old shows up on their doorstep looking for medical information. Or when a family member does one of those genetic info websites. Holiday family gathering and someone mentions 20 kids that came out of nowhere. You're the a-hole. They aren't your children. You are their sperm donor. Your wife is having your first child. Buy her roses and apologize. Biologically, they are. His kid could have dozens or even 100 half-siblings. Sperm banks in the US are completely unregulated. There are sibling pods of over 100 half-siblings. People have accidentally dated their own half-sibling. Lol, I gave sperm too, and wife wasn't happy to hear that either. But my timing and phrasing weren't as idiotic as yours. I wouldn't be angry if it happened before I knew him. I don't understand that. I don't own my husband's balls. It's the timing. She had fertility troubles and is finally pregnant. That is far enough along to have the baby shower and preparing for everything huge and hormonal. Then, oh, by the way, this isn't my first kid. I may have random ones out there. Yeah, that should have been a before or after pregnancy conversation. Too much hormonally charged emotion going on right now. It took me a long time to get pregnant as well due to PCOS. Looking back, I genuinely think I wouldn't have cared if my husband had told me something like that while dating or when we first married. But during my first pregnancy, I was over the moon yet so anxious. I wouldn't have handled probably not my first kid news well at all. If it told me now 11 years of marriage, I'd be really annoyed that he hadn't mentioned it earlier, but I don't think I'd be angry. It's just a timing. I don't think OP is an a-hole at all, but kind of an idiot. Last story. Am I the a-hole for continuing to purposefully take a libido decreaser now that my wife has changed her mind? My 39 male, wife 40 female, and I have been married 15 years. Had a fantastic intimate life for 8 to 10 years, but then we got busy with kids and employment and things sort of fizzled out to maybe once every 6 to 8 weeks. My libido isn't crazy high, but I'll be honest, 6 to 8 weeks was killing me. I felt like the list of things that had to be checked off on my wife's list to get things going was impossible to fulfill. I feel like the list would go on, as new excuses and reasons were added on why she just wasn't down for anything. I was by far the only initiator for the last few years, and would get turned down 9 times out of 10. I work and my wife stays home with the kiddos, which works well for us. I attempted discussions with her about the situation and asked what else she needed from me, how we could spice things up, what we could do to increase our romance and intimacy, etc. The answer was always just that. She never really thought about it anymore and wasn't all that interested. I know it's not my place to pressure her into things she's not comfortable with, so after years of this, I eventually started to take care of myself. And she found out one day and flipped out about it. We had a conversation and she requested I did do that. I'm real non-confrontational, so I agreed, albeit made me frustrated and mildly depressed that we couldn't come to a middle ground. To make matters worse, I had different women at work come on to me very strongly in the middle of all this. I would never cheat, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't tempt me for a moment in my frustration. Eventually, I knew I needed to do something drastic to keep my marriage strong, and I got with my doc and started taking a medicine that decreases my libido significantly. I'll be honest, it's been very freeing. Now I hardly ever think about it. My wife, however, is angry that I'm not physically coming after her and attempting to initiate, etc., like I did before. She asked me to stop taking it, and I've flat out refused. I love that I don't feel negative about this situation anymore, because it doesn't preoccupy my mind like it did before. I honestly don't ever want it to go back how it was before. Am I being an a-hole by sticking with it? Not the a-hole. Coming from a wife of 12 years, I'm really struggling to see your wife's point of view here. In that, you've come up with 2 solutions to this problem, and both she's not happy with? Info, what are the conditions she's asking for? Some completely reasonable, to be honest. One's romance, one's communication, one's emotional intimacy as well. But then the list gets added too. Kids have to be 100% asleep. I can't have said anything remotely construed as negative or impatient in the preceding weeks. She can't have too many stressors on her mind. Can't be too tired. Has to feel confident. House has to be clean. The list goes on. She is an amazing person. Couldn't ask for a better mother to our children. Just wanted to make sure I wasn't just being a prick on this issue and couldn't see it. She won't be intimate with you. She gets mad you rub one out. She gets mad you're no longer interested. You literally cannot win. Not the a-hole. Seriously, what the heck is he supposed to do? If I were OP, I would ask her that, very seriously, to see what her reply is. She wants to be in total control of the intimacy, without feeling like she has to be. Her horny is the only one that matters, and any acknowledgement of his counts as pressure. She hates him in the relationship, irrespective of whether she is beating off, because it makes her feel like she's not doing enough in. She also thinks that if she can live without it, then so must he. Otherwise, the relationship is one-sided, and that's not a power dynamic she can abide. If I had to put a root cause in all this, I would think she secretly wants for the relationship to be over, but she doesn't want to be the one to say it, because she doesn't want to be the bad guy. She doesn't want the intimacy at all, just the associated power with being pursued for it. Yeah, this is 100% the reason. She doesn't want intimacy, but likes the attention and holding the power. She can reward him anytime he jumps through enough hoops for a pity bang, and the rest of the time he's basically begging for any attention. Now that he's shut off the horny faucet, she's not getting the attention, and she's lost her favorite card to play to keep him wrapped around her finger. What an a-hole.